revere Allahs, He should be revered, and die not except as Muslims. Amma ba'd. I would like to welcome you to the Islamic Society of Leading American Muslims, otherwise known as ISLAM Inc., an organization established to conduct dawah and to invite those people, whether they were born, reverted, inverted, converted, whatever you want to call it, to Islam, to be empowered and educated about the true and peaceful message of Islam. So we welcome you today. I would like to start off by talking about the fact that we are trying to bring, we have actually a tentative date right now, am I right, Amanda, the 23rd?
23rd, Monday.
23rd, which is a Monday of June, to bring Atif Mahmoud here, the producer of a documentary called Unmasked. And we will have that event, inshallah, at the St. Luke's United Methodist Church. And we want you to invite as many people as possible. I know it's a short notice. If anyone can here and is interested, he has asked for an honorarium, and I'm in the middle of negotiating that. I don't know how much it's going to be right now. But if anybody would like to help with that, we typically raise sometimes not even $100 here on Sunday mornings, so most of the money to run our organization is not raised in this classroom. This is an extension of what we do in ISLAM. But if anybody's interested in helping handle that honorarium for him, I'd really like him to be a part of it because he is the director. It is a phenomenal documentary. Everybody should see it. It's actually, I believe, spells out what I've been preaching about for many, many years. The inequities that we find in masjids, the lack of services that we're providing for our youth, the lack of services that we're providing for our reverts, the inequities that is meted out to our women, just a lot of issues for the marginalized groups in Islam. And I really would like you to invite every single Muslim you know to come and see this. There's plenty of seating there. And we're negotiating with them right now. And the Muslim Women's Organization is actually going to send out invitations to their group as well. So please, I beg you to mark June the 23rd in your calendar. Please come to this event and support it because it's very important. I think you will love what you hear, and inshallah it will be the impetus, the motivation for us to build a center that honors these needs, inshallah. Monday the 23rd, right here, Unmasked event. Please mark your calendar now. The time will follow. We're looking at somewhere around 6, just so I know that might be hard for people to get off work. So we're going to look at the prayer times, and we'll work on that once we look at all of the factors. But just to put it in your calendar for that evening. Okay. At St. Luke's United Methodist Church, 6 miles up the road that way. Is that considered north or south? North. North on Apopka Vinyl. It's the big church on the corner of Conroy Windermere and Apopka Vinyl, where we have our potlucks often. So please keep that in mind. I wanted to mention that to you. Today is June the 8th. We have 2 more Sundays before Ramadan. How many of you would like me to do a Ramadan review the Sunday before Ramadan? Okay, so we will do a Ramadan review, alhamdulillah, on the ways to make the most out of the month of Ramadan, and that's beautiful.
Question that I have to ask. I'm looking through my notes here from last year, and we can find it. There is this period of Shaban that we have to fast,
Yes.
prepare, and what is it?
Okay, it is the whole month of Sha'ban, which has started. The Prophet Muhammad SAW used to fast more in the month of Sha'ban than any other month in the Islamic calendar. And for example, I don't know if I can see this right now in this light. You'll just bear with me 1 second. This is, for example, today is the 10th of Sha'ban. So you have till the 27th of June. If you want to do as much fasting as possible in the month of Sha'ban, you'll have great benefit from that, inshallah. So if you want to talk to me afterwards just to get clarity on some dates, I'll be glad to show you the Islamic calendar. I just feel like I've got all kinds of stuff up here. But it looks like Ramadan 1 will come in on Saturday the 28th of June. Okay. So just sort of keep that in mind, be preparing for that. Make your goals for the month of Ramadan now. Really, sincerely, I want you to make a specific goal for the month of Ramadan. I want you to come out at the end of Ramadan with something that you don't have now. Next, I want to introduce or recognize the people that are here for the first time. If you're here for the first time, would you stand up, please? Would you please tell us your name and how you got here?
Anam and my mom and my brother are coming, and I was sick, but I feel better now, so I can.
Well, we're very happy you're here, and we hope that this will be the first of many times that you're with our family. Welcome. One of the things I want everybody here to do today, if you do not have the phone number of someone, if you are sitting beside someone that you do not know, if there is someone behind you or in front of you that you do not know, I want you to ask them for their phone number. Now, if it's a guy, I want it to be a guy. The girl is a girl. But part of the vision of ISLAM is to network and to make new friends, to meet people. So we really want you to make family and to meet people that you don't know and connect, because it's very important to do that. One of the things that UNMOS points out is how that we don't do that, and it's really, really, really important for us to do that. So let me cover some other announcements that typically since this is your first time, in about 20 minutes there'll probably be another 20 people here. Although it's summer, so a lot of people are on vacation, we'll see. Maybe not today, but that's usually, those are the people that operate on Muslim Standard Time, not on American Time, Eastern Standard Time. But we love those people just the same, and that's another thing about ISLAM. We have a no condemnation policy, a no criticism policy. We love you, and we do not believe that people are empowered by being criticized. So wherever you are in your spiritual journey, we're okay with that. We're here to support you in reaching your spiritual goals, to love you and to nurture you in getting wherever you want to go spiritually. And if there's any way I can do that as a shepherd and as an imam, I'm here. You just have to ask me, okay? And anything I can do to help you to grow spiritually, I want to do that. The other announcements you can see for yourself, still collecting cell phones, we're still collecting non-perishable items for the food pantries, we're still collecting empty ink and toner cartridges, just to get a little money so that we can do dawah. So if you can support that, please do. And if you are not getting the information about what we're doing, if you'll call Maysoon at 407-288-6931, she'll hook you up. And I just got to say, Maysoon doesn't like me to say this, but she is so kind. Since 2007, I believe every single Sunday, I don't think she's missed one. One, that's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure. One Sunday since 2007, when we started this class, she comes an hour early. She doesn't have a support system here other than this family right here. Single mother is here an hour early, gets this place cleaned up, gets the refreshments ready. MashaAllah. And I can't thank you enough, Maysoon. May Allah reward you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maysoon. She rocks.
Maysoon is heavenly.
That's where I want to go.
So, alhamdulillah. I was just talking to Bilal, our son, our youngest son, this morning, and we were talking about the tafsir, so that's why I was trying to race in and get started. We're talking about what we've been talking about. And so it's been pretty neat. I'm also very honored to have Camila, my second daughter, with us today. I'm always happy when my family is here. Of course, my wife and I on the 13th of June, which I believe is Friday, right? Will have been married 30 years. And the best 30 years of my life. I'm truly grateful to Allah. Let's speak with such a pious one. So, who would like to share where we've been? Sure, because I'll need a few minutes.
You both are lucky.
We're blessed. We really are. Anybody want to share what you've been learning? Okay. Since everybody is eager to share, then we'll just keep right on moving. So actually, we're going to have a little bit of a review. Actually, in part of this, you're going to see some things. As you know, Surah Baqarah is full of information about the Israelites. And so as you can see on the board here from verse 40 to verse 61, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called the Israelites, asking them to remember and to be grateful for the favors that He had bestowed on them. Many favors. Of course, the first revelation was given to them. They claimed specialness, and He reminded them that He favored them and freed them from slavery and bondage. So let's just review some of the verses before we get started that we've looked at. I've just done a synopsis of these. In verse 41, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Israelites, believe and confirm the current revelation, what is the current revelation? Quran and the Sunnah. So I want you to keep this in mind in light of where we're going to go today, and in light of the tafsir. Because I think you will see some things today that might surprise you a little bit. Just bear with me. Not everything I share is my opinion, but it is the opinion of sometimes of scholars, and I respect them, and they know far more than I do. I'm just a kindergarten teacher. So, verse 42, don't cover truth with falsehood, He said. Don't change the words. And of course, last week we talked about how they changed the word, and they changed the etiquettes of how they entered the city. They said, don't change the word. In verse 43, He said, pray steadfastly, give charity, and bow with those who bow. Who are the ones that bow? The Muslims. So this was an invitation. Bow with those who bow. And then He said in verse 44, don't enjoin right and forget it. In other words, don't ask people to do something and you're not doing it yourself. So He was speaking to the scribes and those Pharisees, those priests at that time, rabbis or religious leaders that were enjoining the people to do things, but they themselves were not practicing it. In verse 45, He said, pray with patient perseverance, and be humble. So here, Allah was enjoining the people to pray. You see it again. In 46, He reminds them that you're going to return to me. In 47, He said, remember my favors, my ni'am, my blessings on you. In 48, He says, guard yourself. In 49, He says, remember we delivered you from slavery, from Pharaoh. In 50, we divided the seas for you. In 51, they gave Musa 40 nights, and then they worshiped the calf. In verse 52, Allah forgave them. In verse 53, they gave Moses scripture and guidance. In verse 54 was the punishment of slaying, and Allah forgave them again. They wouldn't believe without seeing Allah. In verse 55, they were punished by thunder and lightning. In verse 56, Allah raised those 70 people from the dead. In verse 57, Allah gave them clouds and quail sandwiches, manna and quail, and they rebelled. Now imagine, that's like a delicacy, folks, for those people that had been wondering. To have had quail sandwiches would be like us going to 2J's and getting a halal Reuben, if there was such a thing. So, in verse 58, enter the town with humility and eat what you wish. In verse 59, they changed the word and Allah sent a plague. In verse 60, Allah gave them 12 springs of water. In verse 61, they complained about the quail sandwiches again, and they requested slave food. They wanted cucumbers and pot herbs, garlic, lentils, and onions. And you know, if you go back in history, this stuff was called peasant food. They actually wanted the food of slavery.
Quail is the seafood? Quail?
No, quail was a bird.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I think it was.
So in verse 62, verily, those who believe and those who are Jews and Christians and Sabians, whoever believes in Allah in the last day and does righteous good deeds shall have their reward with the Lord. On them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. And I just want to warn you here that this verse is often taken out of context. And I'm going to point that out to you today, but I'm not going to tell you yet. I'm going to keep you guessing a little bit. But I just want to open the floor up a little bit. What do you see in this verse, folks? Just be free thinkers for a minute. And tell, okay, yeah, you see people of the book. Very good.
Allah's mercy
You see-
over and over and over again.
Allah's mercy over and over and over. What else do you see? Mercy is in what?
Blessings and miracles.
Blessings and miracles, forgiveness. That no matter all this history, the time that Allah forgave them. What else do you see in here?
I see that we are rebellious.
We're rebellious. Anybody else? What else?
We can hate Jews and Christians.
We can't hate Jews and Christians. Very good.
What is Sabi'in?
I'm going to tell you about that, brother. That's a great question. The Sabi'in, I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to actually talk a little bit about the Jews, the Christians, and the Sabi'ins today. But I'm looking for, if you could think out of the box, what do you see in this verse? Yes, Brother Abdul Jalil.
I see it says those who believe in Allah, so they have to have like the correct belief in Allah.
Those who believe in Allah have to have the correct belief. That's great. Yes. Dr. Zadi.
Yeah, so basically it's just describing that the Jews and the Christians and the Sabians originally believed exactly what Muslims believe in God, in the last day, and in good deeds.
The Jews and the Muslims and the Sabians actually believe. That's very good. That's a great point. This is something else I wanted to see if I could get somebody to see here. Yes, brother.
Being commanded to do good.
They were commanded to do good. Excellent. Somebody over
I was
here.
basically going to say the same thing, the importance of doing good deeds.
The importance of doing good. I want you to see something else here.
The fear and the grief.
Heaven,
Fear and the grief. Heaven.
reward.
They
Reward.
were never satisfied. They always complaining and complaining. They were complainers.
Right. In this specific verse, what I want you to see here, I want you to take notice the belief in Allah and the last day. Belief in Allah is what pillar of Islam?
Verse.
And the last day is a what in Islam?
Article.
An article of faith. This is very important. I want you to take note in that. So it's saying here, verily those who believe and those who are Jews and Christians and Sabians, whoever believes in Allah in the last day and does righteousness or does righteous good deeds shall have their reward with the Lord. On them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. So if you want to live at peace and you don't want to be anxious and fearful, what do you need to believe in? Allah in His last day. Yes, Dr. Sadi.
The other thing that I think is very important is that some people believe in Allah but they don't do good deeds. And some people do good deeds but they don't believe in God. So you actually have to have all three of those things in. It says and believe in Allah and the last day and do good deeds.
Did you read my slides, Dr.
No, I didn't.
Wait, that's great. And I love that because that's what I want. I want you guys to pick up on stuff because if I say something that you said, what does that do? It reinforces it. And so that's quite beautiful. Everything that's been said, we're going to pick back up on it again. So after all their rebellion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds the Israelites, those who attain to faith. Now, Iman, or those who attain to faith, is a belief in the Quran. Listen to what he was saying. And those who follow the Jewish scriptures believe in Allah, the last day, and do good deeds, they will be rewarded and forgiven. Early Muslim scholars tell us that the Sabians, Dr. Nasser, were a religious group who lived in southern Mesopotamia, Bundus. Many scholars placed the Sabians among the people of the book, while some scholars did not accept this categorization because of their belief that the term people of the book was specifically used for Jews and Christians. So when we talk about the Demish, the people of the book, we talk about a people that specifically received the Torah or the Injil. So that's where this argument comes. But what do we do? What do we know about the Sabians then? That they were at least what?
Believers.
They were believers and they were monotheists. Because Allah would not have put them in that category unless they believed in Allah in the last day, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Muhammad Assad, and by the way, if you are looking for a really good translation of the Quran, I encourage you to buy a Muhammad Assad translation. It is really and truly my favorite translation of the Holy Quran. Muhammad Assad was a Jewish revert to Islam, and he is the translator of Muhammad Assad, a great translation of the Holy Quran, and his commentary is really just brilliant. It's the work of genius. So I highly recommend that. So Muhammad Assad says, the Sabians were a monotheistic group, intermediate between Judaism and Christianity. Their name probably came from Seba, and the T is not pronounced there. He immersed himself in water, an indication that they were followers of John the Baptist, which would be Yahya in Arabic, the prophet Yahya. Okay. And of course, Allah knows best.
They mentioned in the Quran.
Yes, they're mentioned in verse 62 of Surah Baqarah.
So then how can scholars disagree with that?
They're not disagreeing. What they're disagreeing is whether they are people of the book. Because people of the book are people that received a divine revelation. The Sabians did not receive the Torah. The Jews received the Torah. The Christians received the Injil. The Sabians, there's no record, and I'm going to cover that actually. I'm going to give you, I think you'll get enough detail from the next couple of slides.
But we have more than 140 prophets. So
125,000 prophets since Adam.
they know the message.
Yeah. So this was a group that had the message, but we do not have a holy book for them. So, they seem to be the embryo of the current day Mandaeans. Now, I have a little bit of a problem with this because the Mandaeans, if you look them up in the history, it says that they worship the stars and stuff like that. We know that they could not have been a people of the book, if you want to go that route, or they could not have been people that believed in Allah in the last day if they were worshiping anything other than Allah, right?
Yeah.
Because to believe in Allah in the last day means that you worship Allah, right? And Allah alone. Yes, brother?
John, did he receive the revelation like his cousin?
Yahya, to my knowledge, did not receive revelation. No. Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah 5, verse 69. Surah 22:17 also mentions the Sabians together with the Jews and the Christians. So 3 places in the Holy Quran, the Sabians are mentioned. Okay. Nothing is said about the Sabians' religion, presumably because the Arabs of the Prophet ﷺ's time already knew them as a religious group. This is deducible from the fact that the Prophet ﷺ's contemporaries who queried him on almost everything in the Quran were silent on the Sabians. So it is assumed by the scholars that the reason that there's not more knowledge is because the companions at that time knew about these folks. There is a difference of opinion over the identity of the Sabians. Sufyan al-Thawri said that Layth bin Abu Sulaym said that Mujahid said that the Sabians are between the Majus, the Jews, and the Christians. They do not have a specific religion. Similar is reported from Ibn Abi Najih. Similar statements were attributed to Atta Sa'id bin Jubayr as well. They or others say that the Sabians are a sect among the people of the book who used to read the Zabur, which are the Psalms. And it's sort of a funny story, but if you take a King James version of the Bible or any translation of the Bible and you open it right to the middle, the Psalms are in the middle. And that's when we were memorizing the books of the Bible when I was a young kid. We always knew to open the Bible right to the middle and we'd find the Psalms. So if you ever want to just see what the Psalms look like in English, just open it right to the middle and there you'll be at the Psalms. Okay. Others say that they are people who worship the angels or the stars. And so obviously they could not be a people of the book. They could not be mentioned and compared along with Jews and Christians that believe in Allah in the last day if they were worshiping angels or stars. And I wanted to point that out. Yes?
I think I read in one of the tafsirs, maybe in Abdullah Yusuf Ali, but I may be wrong, that the people who believe that they worship angels and stars said that they were counted because they had no knowledge of Allah. They were never given any knowledge, so they were out of their innocence were trying to worship God, but I don't know.
Yeah. Allahu Alam. And this is why I just wanted to give you what is known about them, what we can find about them, just so that you have some information, because I've been asked this question, who were the Sabians? So I'm giving you what the scholars have said about them to the best of my ability, inshallah, so you'll have some knowledge. I think what's the most important thing to know is that they believed in Allah in the last day, and how important it is to believe in the last day. It appears that the closest opinion to the truth, and Allah knows best, is Mujahid's statement. And those who agree with him, like Wahb ibn Munabbih, that the Sabians are neither Jews nor Christians nor Majus nor polytheists. Rather, they did not have a specific religion that they followed and enforced because they remained living according to their fitrah, their instinctual spiritual nature. This is why the idolaters used to call whoever embraced Islam a Sabi, meaning that he abandoned all religions that existed on the earth. Some scholars stated that the Sabi'in are those who never received a message by any prophet. Allah knows best. So this is just different things that are recorded by various scholars about them. So we're going to sort of transition, but I did want to talk to you a little bit about the Sabi'in, because I think that if any new Muslim is reading that verse, you would have a question about who are these people. And so I wanted to give you what's available out there. Yes, ma'am?
That Samud came on Dawud alayhi salam?
Yes, exactly. So, if we move, and then we're going to come back, remember, but I want you to keep this theme about belief in Allah in the last day. Faith in doing righteous deeds equals salvation in all times. After Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the condition and punishment of those who defy His commands, fall into His prohibitions, and transgress set limits by committing prohibited acts, He stated that the earlier nations who were righteous and obedient received the rewards for their good deeds. Now, what happens here, folks, is there's a shift, and you're going to see it in a few minutes when I show you a particular verse. This shall be the case until the day of judgment. Therefore, whoever follows the unlettered messenger and prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, shall acquire eternal happiness, and shall neither hear from what they will happen, neither fear from what will happen in the future, nor become sad for what has been lost in the past. Similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah 10 and verse 62, no doubt, verily, the awliya, the helpers of Allah, no fear shall come upon them, nor shall they grieve. The angels will proclaim to the dying believers, as mentioned in Surah 41 and verse 30. Verily, those who say, our Lord is Allah alone, and then they stand firm, on them the angels will descend at the time of their death, saying, fear not nor grieve, but receive the glad tidings of paradise, which you have been promised. So, this is such a powerful verse, folks, because it brings us to examine those people who might appear to be people of the book, but they say that Jesus is God, or that they give partnership with God. So to say that you believe in Allah, it means that you believe there's one God. And this becomes, I think this is going to be a great explanation, but it may come as a surprise, so I'm just sort of trying to prepare you. The meaning of mu'min, or believer, And there's a little controversy about this, and we're going to talk about this today, inshallah. Ali bin Abi Talha narrated from Ibn Abbas about, verily those who believe and those who are Jews and Christians and Sabians, whoever believes in Allah and the last day, that Allah revealed Surah 3 verse 85 afterwards, and whoever seeks religion other than Islam, it will never be accepted of him. In the hereafter, he will be one of the losers. And this is a verse that people do not look at in light of the previous verses. And I have been at a lot of dawah events where people present verse 62, but never ever take into consideration this verse. Now, I want you just to sort of take it in, because for some people it's a little tough to get this verse. So just bear with me. I'm going to share with you some things. But this is called an abrogation in Islam. And this is a transition that a lot of people do not acknowledge. In order for this verse to be applicable to a people, though, they have to have been able to hear sufficiently to accept faith. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? Okay. So let me go over this again. What did the first verse say? Verse 62.
Jews and
Believe in one
Christians
God.
and people who believe in one God
And the last day.
And what does this verse say?
But if you believe in any other
Anyone.
Did that sound like a contradiction?
No.
Yes. Okay, let me ask you this. When the Quran said, consider wine and gambling, the first revelation that came about drinking, it said don't go to the prayers before, right? Don't go to the prayers when you're drunk. The Muslims were still drinking, right?
Yes.
Right. Then another revelation came and it said no more. 8 years later.
Yes.
Did that mean that there's a contradiction in the Quran?
No.
No. It means that people had grown. Allah gave them 8 years to give it up. That's mercy. Because most of us want our husbands and wives to change in about 2 days. You know? That was supposed to be funny. Okay. I guess it wasn't. So, let's look at this, because this is an abrogation. But I don't want you to take it out of context. Because when we talk about, remember all the different definitions I gave you for kuffar?
Yes.
Okay. So, in other words, you have to be given sufficient information. If I just happen to say to one person, I want to give you an opportunity to hear about Islam, I have fulfilled my responsibility, but does that mean they rejected Islam? No, because it takes a while, right?
Right.
So just keep that in mind during the next few minutes. This statement by Ibn Abbas indicates that Allah does not accept any deed or work from anyone unless it conforms to the law of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is, after Allah sent Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before that, every person who followed the guidance of his own prophet was on the correct path, following the correct guidance, and was saved. From the time that this verse was revealed, though, it was our responsibility to invite people to the truth. And this is why we do dawah. And to be able to answer people's questions. Because, you see, if you do all the great things in the world, you're a philanthropist. And you give millions and millions of dollars to poor countries. But you don't believe that there's one God. And you don't believe in the hereafter. What's going to happen? You're going to be a loser. Very good. Exactly.
Well, how can you invite people when you don't really have good examples for them to follow? You know, you do dawah, you're inviting them to Islam, but when the people look around and look at Muslims, they say, that's not for me.
And that's why we have to clean up our act. Because one of the slides later, I'm going to ask this question. Dr. Nasser, I love it. You're right on spot with me. You know, what have we got to do to get our own hearts right? Because I think we look a lot like the Israelites used to look. I really do.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the Ummah today, may Allah forgive me if what I'm saying is wrong, but my intention is pure. My intention is to try to get us to look at our heart. I think that's why we've got to step up to the plate, Dr. Nasser, and change our lives so that we can fulfill our responsibilities as the Khalifa on earth. We've got to clean up our act. Yes, sir.
I also think that all of us should, if we are likable people, should not hide our religion, because I think a lot of good Muslims try to meld into the society and don't let anyone know that they're Muslims. And if you are a good person and you're liked in your workplace and everything, you ought to tell people, or at least not hide that you're a Muslim, so that they have an idea, because they actually learn from who's around them. That's all.
Before I get, no, don't be sorry. Did you finish?
Yeah.
I just want to let the brother know I'd seen his hand, so he wouldn't get tired. But before I go to Yasin, I just want to say, I also want us to look at the mercy that Allah meted out to the Israelites, though. And to know that He's meting that out to us in our imperfections and in our weaknesses. You know, that He loved them and He put favor on them despite all their mistakes. And I think that that's part of dawah. For us to be able to say to people, you know, I make a lot of mistakes. I'm not perfect. But I believe in Allah in the last day. And I believe that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the final messenger. And I stand on the principles of Islam. And I'm going to live and die. I'm going to breathe my last breath saying, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Brother, yes, sir.
Correct me if I'm wrong, brother, but I believe that there's a large misconception in the Muslim community that da'wah is done through the tongue, but rather it should be done through our actions. Many people think it's about speaking about it, but really the best way to do it is by living a good, righteous life, and then people see that and they'll be so intrigued by the way you're acting that they can't help but ask questions and wonder what it is that makes you that way.
Absolutely. And that's best practice. Best practice is dawah by example, leadership by example.